My name is Maria Valdez, and I am 22 years old now. But this story begins 10 years ago when I was only 12. Even now, when so much time has passed, I can still feel the wind of my childhood city on my face. I can still hear the noise of the streets, the voices of neighbors, the sound of the sea far away. Some memories never leave you, even when you grow up. I grew up in a big, busy place called Wincliffe City, a city near the ocean. The streets were always full of life. Cars moved all day and all night. People talked loudly. Buses stopped on every corner. Shops played music from the morning until late in the evening. Sometimes the noise made it hard to think, but it also made the city feel alive. I lived with my mother, Clara Valdez, in a small old apartment building. Our apartment was on the fourth floor. It had two small rooms, one tiny kitchen, and a narrow balcony. If you stood on the balcony and looked very far, you could see a thin line of blue water where the sea touched the sky. When I was young, I liked to imagine that the sea was waving at me, calling me, telling me stories. Our apartment was not big or beautiful. The paint on the walls was cracked. The refrigerator made strange sounds at night. The sofa was so old that every time someone sat on it, it made a long, sad noise. But I did not care. To me, that small apartment was my whole world, full of love and comfort. My mother worked in a large hotel near the sea. She was not a manager or someone with an important title. She worked as a room cleaner. Every day she cleaned many rooms. She changed the sheets, washed the floors, picked up trash, and made everything look nice for tourists who didn't even know her name. Sometimes she came home very tired. Her back hurt. Her hands were dry and red from cleaning chemicals. But even when she was exhausted, she always smiled at me. "My little moon," she used to say, "you make my nights bright." Every time she said that, my heart filled with warmth. I loved her so much. I thought we were like any other family. We didn't have a father in the house, but I never asked why. My mother always said, "It's just you and me, and that is enough." And because I loved her so much, I believed her. I didn't want to ask questions that could hurt her. School was simple for me. I was quiet. I liked sitting near the window and watching birds fly or the sky change colors. I did not have many friends. In fact, I only had one real friend. Her name was Rena. She was loud, funny, always laughing, and always eating something. She had a big family, two noisy brothers, a baby sister, a father who drove a bus, and a mother who baked bread that filled the whole house with a warm smell. I loved visiting Rena's home because it was full of life. People talked over each other, someone always dropped a dish, the radio played music, and there was always something delicious on the table. It was the opposite of my quiet home with just me and my mother. Sometimes when I sat in Rena's kitchen, I wondered why my life was so different. Why didn't I have a father? Why didn't I have brothers or sisters? Why was it always just my mother and me? But I never asked. I didn't want to break anything between us. I didn't want to make her sad. She worked so hard. She smiled through pain. I didn't want to give her more problems. But life always finds a way to bring hidden things to light. And one day, everything changed. It happened a few weeks before my 13th birthday. It was a warm Saturday afternoon. Sunlight came through our window and made the room feel soft and bright. I was helping my mother fold clean towels she brought from the hotel. We were talking about simple things, school, food, the weather, nothing important. Then we heard a knock on the door. Our neighbor, Mrs. Tilda, came inside. She was an old woman who lived on the second floor. She had white hair, soft eyes, and always brought small fruit candies for me. She was kind, the kind of neighbor who knew everyone's business and liked to talk a lot. She smiled at me and said, "Look at you, Maria, you are growing so fast." Then she looked at me longer, her eyes soft and thoughtful. And then she said the words that changed everything. "It's amazing how much Maria looks like her father." I froze. My hand stopped moving. My mother's face changed. Her smile disappeared like someone turned it off. She looked almost scared. "Tilda," my mother said quietly, "please don't." The old woman blinked. "What? She knows, doesn't she?" My mother shook her head slowly. "She is 12, Tilda." "Oh," the old woman whispered, "but she should know by now." The room felt suddenly cold. I felt something strange in my chest, like a door opening in the dark. "Know what?" I asked. No one answered. The air felt heavy. My mother's eyes looked sad and tired. Mrs. Tilda suddenly stood up, said she had to go, and left the apartment, closing the door behind her. I turned to my mother. What was she talking about? I asked. Why did she say that? Who is my father? My mother sat down. Her hands were shaking a little. She looked at the floor first, then at me. And then, in a quiet voice, she said, Maria, you were not born from me. I felt my heart drop. I felt fear. I felt confusion. I felt everything at the same time. What do you mean? I asked, my voice small. She looked at me with sad eyes. You were born from another woman, she said. I adopted you when you were a baby. The room began to spin. It felt like the walls were moving. You're not my real mother, I whispered. She stood up quickly and held my shoulders. I am your real mother, she said, her voice strong. I raised you, I fed you, I gave you love, I stayed with you, but I did not give birth to you. My eyes filled with tears. You lied to me, I said, all these years. She nodded slowly, tears falling from her eyes. I only wanted to protect you. You were so small. I didn't want you to feel abandoned. I couldn't listen. My chest hurt. My throat hurt. My whole world felt like it was falling apart. I want to find her, I said quietly. My real mother, I want to know why she left me. My mother didn't try to stop me. She didn't scream. She didn't tell me I was wrong. Instead, she walked to a small drawer, opened it, and took out a folded piece of paper. Her hands were shaking when she gave it to me. This is the only information I have, she said. The woman who gave birth to you once lived in a small town called Rivershore. It is 2 hours away from here. I didn't speak. I didn't cry. I couldn't. That night, I went to my room, closed the door, and cried until my pillow was completely wet. I cried for the lie, for the truth, for the pain inside me, for the questions I never asked. The next morning, when the sky was still pale and quiet, I packed a small bag. I put inside some clothes, a bottle of water, a little money I had saved, and the piece of paper with the address. My mother stood in the doorway watching me. Will you try to stop me? I asked again. No, she whispered, but my door will always stay open for you. I didn't hug her. I didn't say goodbye. I was hurt. I was angry. I was lost. I walked out the door, down the stairs, and onto the street. I walked until I reached the bus station. I bought a ticket to Rivershore Town. I sat by the window and watched Wincliffe City slowly disappear behind me. As the bus moved, my heart was full of questions. Who was she? Why did she leave me? Did she ever think about me? Did she ever love me? When the bus reached Rivershore, the town felt small, soft, and quiet, nothing like my city. The air smelled like trees and river water. People walked slowly. Children laughed in the streets. I followed the address from the paper. After some time, I arrived at a small house with white walls and a green door. My hands were shaking. My stomach felt tight. I took a deep breath and knocked on the door. After a few moments, a woman opened it. She looked around 40 years old. Her brown hair was tied back. Her eyes were dark and serious. She looked at me with surprise. Yes, she asked. I swallowed. I think I am your daughter. Her whole face changed. She stared at me without moving. My heart beat fast. Then she stepped aside and said, Come inside. And that is where everything truly began. When the woman asked me to come inside, my legs felt weak. I walked slowly into the house. It was small but clean. The air smelled like tea and something sweet, maybe baked apples. The curtains were light blue and soft sunlight filled the room. Everything felt calm, but inside me everything was shaking. The woman closed the door behind me. She didn't smile. Her face was pale and her hands were shaking a little. I stood in the middle of the living room, not knowing what to do. She looked at me for a long time, like she was trying to understand if I was real. What is your name? She finally asked. Maria, I answered. Her eyes softened, but she still looked confused, almost scared. She sat down on a chair and pointed to the sofa. "Sit, please." I sat, but my hands were shaking. She looked at me again with the same long stare. "Why are you here?" she asked quietly. I took a deep breath. I found out yesterday that I'm adopted. My mother gave me your address." She closed her eyes when I said "mother," as if the word hurt her. "I see," she whispered. Silence filled the room again. I could hear the ticking of a small clock on the wall. My heart beat faster with every tick. I didn't know how to start. I didn't know which questions to ask. So I asked the first one that came into my mind. "Are you really my mother?" She looked at me with deep sadness in her eyes. She nodded slowly. "Yes," she said softly. "I gave birth to you." My chest felt tight. I had waited for this answer, but hearing it made everything feel even heavier. I looked at her hands. They were thin and tired-looking, like they had known too much work and too much sadness. "Why did you leave me?" I whispered. She didn't answer at first. She looked away, her eyes shining with tears. Her voice trembled when she finally spoke. "I didn't want to," she said. "But sometimes life is stronger than us." Her words didn't explain anything. They only made me more confused. "What happened?" I asked again. She covered her face with her hands for a moment, then lowered them slowly. "When you were born," she began, "I was very young, only 16. I had no job, no money, no help. Your father was gone. My parents were strict and angry. They said I brought shame. They didn't want a baby in the house. They didn't want you." Her voice broke at the last word. "So they made you give me away?" I asked. She nodded. "They took you from me when you were 2 months old," she said. "I cried every night. I begged them, but they wouldn't let me keep you. They said you would have a better life with another family." My throat hurt. I felt angry for her and angry at her at the same time. "You never tried to find me?" I asked. She looked at me with pain. "I did," she said. "Many times, but the adoption papers were closed. I didn't know where you went. I didn't know your new name. I didn't know anything. I didn't even know if you were alive." She wiped her tears with her fingers. "When I found out you had been adopted by a woman in Windcliff City, it was already too late. The information was very old, and I was afraid. I thought maybe you didn't want to see me. Maybe you hated me for leaving you." I looked at her. For the first time, she looked very small, very lonely, very human. We sat quietly for a long time. I didn't know what I felt. My heart was full of too many things: confusion, sadness, anger, fear, hope. I didn't know where one feeling ended and another began. Then she asked gently, "Do you hate me?" I looked into her eyes. They were soft, tired, and full of guilt. "I don't know," I whispered honestly. "I only want to understand." She nodded slowly, accepting the truth like it was a heavy stone she had to carry. "I want you to know something," she said. "I always loved you, every day. Even when you were gone, I never forgot you, Maria, never." My eyes filled with tears. I didn't know what to say, so I said nothing. She stood up and walked to a small cabinet. From a drawer, she took out a small wooden box. She opened it carefully and showed me what was inside: a tiny baby bracelet with my name on it, a small pink hat, and a picture of her holding me in the hospital. "I kept these," she said softly. "All these years, this was all I had of you." I touched the bracelet. It felt warm, even though it was old. My heart felt heavy and light at the same time. I didn't know it was possible to feel both. Suddenly, she whispered, "Maria, do you want to know about your father?" I froze. My father. The person I never knew. The person no one ever mentioned. I didn't answer. I only nodded. Her face changed. It became serious, dark, scared. "Your father's name was Elias Tors," she said. The name was strong, sharp like a stone. "He was not a bad man," she continued. "But he was in trouble, dangerous trouble. He was involved with people he shouldn't have trusted, people who do illegal things, people who hurt others." My stomach tightened. "One night," she said, "he disappeared. No one saw him again. Some say he ran away. Some say worse things happen to him." Her voice lowered. "And if anyone finds out you're his daughter, you might be in danger too." A cold wave ran through my whole body. "Danger? Me?" I looked at her in shock. "Why would I be in danger?" I asked. Her answer was quiet but terrifying. "Because your father stole something important before he disappeared, and some people believe he gave it to someone. They might think he gave it to me. Or to you." I felt the floor disappear under me. She continued in a trembling voice. "Maria, you must be careful, very careful." The room felt smaller. The air felt heavier. My heartbeat was loud in my ears. My search for truth had only just begun. And now there was danger in it. I sat in the small living room of my birth mother's house, and everything around me felt distant, like a dream I could not fully understand. The soft curtains, the sunlight, the smell of tea, it all felt far away. Only her voice stayed close, heavy and full of fear. "Maria, you must be careful," she repeated. I didn't know what to say. I was 12, almost 13. I didn't understand danger. I didn't understand why anyone would care about me. I only wanted to know who I was, where I came from. I never imagined something dark could be inside my story. "What did my father steal?" I asked with a trembling voice. She shook her head. "I don't know," she said. "He never told me, but people whispered. They said he took something valuable from a dangerous group, something they wanted back. After he disappeared, they came to me. They asked questions. They looked through my house. I told them I knew nothing. They left me alone after some time. But," she swallowed, "if they find out you exist, they may come again." My heart started beating faster. "But I don't have anything," I said. "I don't know anything." "I know," she whispered, "but they don't think like normal people." Silence filled the room again. I felt scared, confused, and lost. I came here for answers, but the truth felt bigger and darker than I expected. My birth mother sat across from me, looking tired, holding her hands like she was praying. After a long moment, I took a deep breath. "I want to go home," I said. Her face fell a little, but she nodded. "I understand," she whispered. "Your adoptive mother, she is a good woman. She loves you. She saved you from a life I could not give." I looked at her. She looked so fragile, like a glass figure that could break with one wrong touch. "Can I visit you again?" I asked softly. The question surprised her. Her eyes widened, then filled with tears. "If you want to," she whispered. "My door will always be open for you." She walked me to the door. When I stepped outside, she gently touched my shoulder. "Maria," she said, "you are brave. I am proud of you." I didn't know why, but her words made my throat tighten. I nodded, then walked away. I returned to the bus station. The sky was turning orange, the air turning cooler. I bought a ticket back to Wincliffe City. When I sat on the bus, I looked out the window and watched the small town slowly disappear. When the city lights came into view, something inside me softened. This was my home, my noisy, bright, messy home, and my mother, my adoptive mother, was waiting somewhere inside it. When I reached our apartment building, I felt nervous. The hallway looked the same as always, the same old lights, the same old smell of dust and someone cooking noodles. I walked up the stairs slowly. When I reached our door, I hesitated for 1 second, then knocked. The door opened almost immediately. My mother stood there. Her eyes were red and tired, as if she had been crying the whole day. When she saw me, she didn't say anything. She just stepped forward and wrapped her arms around me tightly. I froze for a moment, and then I hugged her back. "Maria," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I'm so sorry. I should have told you. I didn't want to lose you." "I'm sorry too," I whispered. "I was angry, but I'm home." She cried harder, holding me even tighter. We went inside. The apartment looked the same, but it felt different, warmer, softer, more real. We sat on the sofa together. I told her everything, about my birth mother, about the box of baby things, about my father, about the danger. She listened carefully. She didn't interrupt. When I finished, she took my hand. "Maria," she said, "I will protect you, always. No matter what your past is, no matter who your father was, you are my daughter." My eyes filled with tears. "I know," I whispered, "and I love you." For the first time since everything happened, I felt peace. Days passed, then weeks, then months. My adoptive mother and my birth mother met once quietly and carefully. They talked not as enemies but as two women who both loved the same child. There were no fights, no anger, only understanding. As for the danger, nothing happened. No one came. No one asked questions. Maybe the people from my father's past forgot. Maybe they didn't care anymore. Maybe he never took anything at all. I never found the answer, but I stopped being afraid. I visited my birth mother sometimes. She told me stories about her childhood, about music she liked, about dreams she had. She showed me the river in her town, the place where she used to sit and write songs. I learned she had a quiet, warm soul. But I always came home to my real mother, the woman who raised me, fed me, stayed with me, and loved me every day of my life. When I turned 14, the three of us celebrated my birthday together. It was strange at first, but then it felt right. For the first time, I didn't feel broken or confused. I felt whole. Now I am 22. 10 years have passed since that day. I grew up, finished school, found a job I love. I live in a small apartment not far from my mother's home. On weekends, I visit both of my mothers. Yes, both. Because love does not break into pieces. It grows, it expands, it makes space for more. Sometimes people ask me about my family. I smile and say, "I have two mothers. One gave me life and one gave me love. Together, they gave me everything." As for my father, his story ended long ago. I no longer fear the shadows of his past. They don't belong to me. My future belongs to me. And now I know who I am. I am Maria Valdez. Loved. Wanted. Whole. And this is the end of my story.